Good afternoon. I'm Terry, your Chief Idea Catcher at SpinFrogs, and thank you for tuning in to another terrific Tips for Business podcast. Today we have Dontavious Thomas with us, and I don't know about you, but that sounds a lot like I'm introducing somebody from the Three Musketeers. Dontavious! It is so fun. I love your name.
Thank you.
Dontavious, let me tell you a little bit about Dontavious. I've met him very recently, and he has a passion for really helping small business owners save some money on their expenses, on their phone expenses, on their IT expenses, on their waste removal expenses, for those of you that have waste that you need to have removed. But aside that, he's a very passionate man. He has a young family. They've recently just moved into a new home, which is really exciting. So let me tell you a little bit about Dontavious. He was tricked into joining the Army by his mom, which I'm sure is a fascinating story. And he served for the U.S. Army from 2009 to 2015. For those of you that don't know what happened during that time, we had 9/11 happen right in the middle of his time in the Army. So he did serve with one deployment in 2012, and then he medically retired. He went to school with a focus in IT, technology, and then he landed a job, but decided he really wanted some more from life and really wanted to have the ability to create wealth for his family and his future. And that's when he found his franchise that he brought on board, and he's never looked back since then. And so I want to thank you for joining me today, Dontavious. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I want to hear just a little bit about that story. How did you get tricked into joining the Army?
Well, growing up, I always wanted a motorcycle as a little kid, and my mom was always like, no, you're not going to get one. She never would let me get one. And so by the time I graduated high school, I wasn't really doing anything with my life. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't ambitious, just kind of sat home playing video games. And so she wanted to motivate me, and her boyfriend at the time was in a motorcycle club, and he was the president. And so they concocted the idea, hey, let's get him down to get him down to the recruiter's office. I got a friend that's in a recruiter's office, and get him to talk to him and see where everything goes. And those recruiters are really good at their job. So I go down there, and I'm like, all right. So they tell me, hey, if you go just talk to him, we'll get your motorcycle. So cool, I go and I go down and talk to him, and before I know it, yeah, just sign one paper, take the test, and next I'm in. I didn't realize it happened so fast. I picked my job, and I have my job. And, oh, by the way, you leave in February. I signed up around December time frame, and you leave in February for boot camp, basic training. Like, huh? What? Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we're live. So I go back to mom. Hey, guess what? I signed up. Now, when I get my motorcycle, and she just burst out laughing. She calls her boyfriend. She's like, you won't believe it. He actually signed up. So they both were shocked. And I never got the motorcycle to this day, but we make jokes about it. I eventually did get my own motorcycle after, and yeah, I never got the one from her, but it's a good joke. It was a nice kick in the butt. I appreciate it. I needed it.
Well, good. It gave you some direction. It gave you some idea of what to do with your life. I know that period of time can be pretty aimless for some people. It was for me. I mean, I know I went to college. I went to community college and was there, and I switched my degree like 3 times in 2 years. And then at the end of the third switch, decided I didn't really want to do any of that anymore. And I dropped out, just dropped out. I'm like, I'm done with all of this, and I'm just going to go to work. And I went to work and hated working for everybody else, and decided that I needed to change the way business was done. And damn it, I'm going to change the way business is done. And I went back to school, and here we are. Several years later now, and I still haven't changed the way business is done, but I feel like I am helping people.
That's right. That's what matters. That's what matters most. Yeah, I did go off to college 1 year before that, and I came back home and didn't go back,
Yeah,
so it was a waste. But I know it definitely is. The little things help. If you can help build your community, um, just one person, one business at a time, it goes a long way. Um,
absolutely.
I think of it that way.
Yeah. So, what's something that you're doing in your community to help bring the ties together? I know right now that we're recording this, it's a little challenging time.
Hmm.
So, what's something that you're doing to help bring people together?
I do one. I'm in a couple service groups. I'm in Kiwanis. That is an awesome group. I love being a part of that group. Um, another group I'm in, and forgive me, the name slips on mine. But there's also another service group that we are out there in the community doing things. I also ask people, hey, you need me to shop for you? I can go grocery shopping for you. If you need me to go pick up supplies, run errands for you, whatever the case may be, cut grass, like whatever needs to be done, whatever I can do to help, I'm more than willing to help. And people appreciate it, and it makes me feel good, and it gives me something to do.
There you go. There you go. Talk to us a little bit about Kiwanis because I've heard of Kiwanis, but it's been a little while since I've been really plugged into Kiwanis. I'm more familiar with Rotary International.
Hmm.
So share a little bit about Kiwanis with us. What is that organization all about?
Kiwanis is very similar to Rotary, and it's basically a service group, and volunteer to sign up, and do certain acts in the community, whether it's working vendor events, giving out free pretzels, um, uh, like volunteering to go speak with kids, to do things with kids. We have a scholarship fund that we give out, put money into a pot to help kids that are aspiring to go to college, things of that nature. So it's a very wide array of things that Kiwanis does, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So it's growing up, I never thought, I never knew of groups like this. I never thought that I would ever be a part of things like this, but to be a part of something like that, and it helps me see a bigger picture. It's
Would
not just
you,
me and my family.
yeah, would you say that your time in the Army really helped you to want to be more involved with the community and really have that support? Like, do you think the Army impacted that?
Uh, yes and no. I would say my time on deployment did. When I deployed, I believed in everything that I was fed. You're going to war, and you're, they're the enemy. But I was fortunate I was a FOBIT, which, for those who don't know, FOBITs are the soldiers that are confined to a base. They don't leave the base. We don't go out and, you know, fight the bad guys. So I was a FOBIT, and in my job, I worked at the ECP, the entry control point, which is the front gate. And I was in transportation. We brought in the trucks for the base, the supplies, the food, food, water, or not water, but food, whatever supplies that was shipped from another base. We used the foreign nationals to drive the trucks. That was the government's way of employing their people. So they would drive the trucks from base to base. We'd bring the trucks in, and get on base, unload the supplies, and drive. They go about their business. So I was fortunate enough to um, interact with the foreign nationals. And when I first got there, I was very standoffish. Don't talk to me, eyes forward, kind of thing. And as time went on, we loosened up. They're always so happy. So it became to me like these people, they have far less than us, but they seem happier. They don't look at us as, bad people. They want help as well. So it was an eye-opening experience for me, that like, to appreciate life, and just to see someone less fortunate, they're happy because they're together.
Mm.
Whereas, I see people that they have more than us, even here in the stateside, they have more than others, but they're unhappy. They're very alone. So I come back here, and I'm like, once I get into business, like, I want to get out in the community. I want to do things. I want to bridge the gap, um, any way I can, to step up and help people. It should be a close knit community. We should all know our neighbors. We should all, pitch in. If we all stuck together, basically one of the times that as a kid that I remember this country sticking together, 9/11, I remember the countries coming together any way, shape or form, whatever you needed. Like, it just felt like everyone was one. It was, no color, no gender evolve. We were all one. So I think in my belief, if we can all get back to that, that's what I strive to do and make a benefit any way I can.
I love that, Dontavious. That's a great heart. And that really is interesting to think about too. The people who have less actually have more in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because they maybe have less, but they're happy with everything that they have. And
Yeah,
if we can figure out how to internalize that, we would be happier too.
yeah. From watching them, I learned how to enjoy life, enjoy the little things. So once I came back, like I went through some things injury wise, and it was a very tough time, but I was able to stay positive because of some of the things I learned from them, just watching them. I learned a little bit of their language, communicate very little, but it was just I was appreciative. I didn't blame myself. I didn't get down on anybody. I was just like, how can I make this into a positive? How can I grow from this? Now I learned a lot during that deployment. It helped me mature a lot.
Those are some great questions that you are asking yourself. How can I learn from this? How can I be a better person from this? What can I gain or glean from this experience? Those are all questions that probably have served you well in business.
It has. It has. I try to treat every person I meet as family. Not just a customer, not just a client. Like, you mean more to me than that. Like I said, it's community. If I can treat everyone as family, I'll do right by them. If it means whatever I have to give money out of my own pocket to make a situation right, I will. So I'll go above and beyond to make anything right that I can within reason, within the law. But
That's a very specific thing there now. We got to be within the law. What are you talking about?
yeah, I watch. I just finished watching Breaking Bad with my wife. And I don't want to, I don't want someone to call me. Hey, remember that? Remember you said you do anything for the community? Yeah, I got this thing over here I need help with.
we need you to become the new Walter White. Like, could you make
Yeah.
that happen? No? Okay.
I love that show.
It was good. That one was very, very well written. Easy for me to say today.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I told her that. I told her it's not usually her alley, those type of shows. But she loved it. And this was my second time watching it, and I got pretty frustrated all over again. At the wife, what was her name? Skylar White. Yeah. She aggravated me. She did a great job acting, very great job. If an actor or actress can upset you from their role in the movie, like you hate that character, they did a great job, in my opinion. And I hated her.
It's really hard. It's actually harder to, Brian and I were just talking about this. Brian's my husband. And we were just talking about this. It's actually harder to write and act a good villain than it is to write and act a good person. You know what I mean? Because you have to walk this line, this fine line of being a bad guy, but you're not so bad that people are like, whatever, right? They have to care enough about you to hate you. There's like this really fine line that has to happen. And if you teeter too far to one side of the line, you've lost the audience, either side.
Right.
And you're not getting the reaction that you want. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I love a good bad guy. I love the best villain I've ever seen. I don't want to get too far off topic. The best villain I've seen was Heath Ledger's Joker in I think The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight, I think it was. That was the best portrayal of a villain I've ever seen. It was incredible performance.
He really was, but he went really in. So let's talk about how this applies to business too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he really embodied that character to the point that he actually ended up going crazy and he took his own life
Mm-hmm.
during the
Mm-hmm.
recording of that.
Mm-hmm.
Keith was such an amazing actor. So if we think about this from the business perspective, right? So the business owners that are listening, whether you agree or disagree with Dontavious doesn't really matter. If you like or don't like Heath Ledger's performance, that's fine. At the end of the day, though, we are our own superhero or our own villain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us to decide which we are on any given day, in any given hour, in any situation. So how, Dontavious, do you help keep your mind straight so that you can stay the protagonist in your own story and not the villain in your own story?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I just try to stay positive. I grew up in a lower economic neighborhood. And I've been in some tough situations, but I just try to stay positive and not. I'm tempted some days, and I'm like, hey man, like screw it, it's not worth it. But I try to fall back on how far I've come. Is it worth risking and losing it all? Now that I have a son, I gotta toe the line and make sure I do everything the right way to teach him because he's gonna follow me to a certain extent. Uh, so those are really the things I try to fall on. I try to, I guess, a mental T chart. The pros and the cons, uh, the good outweighing the bad. That's it sounds lame, but that's pretty much how I manage everything. Just a mental T chart, a quick pros and cons situation.
So when you're making decisions, business decisions for your business, do you leverage that mental T chart or do you kind of go through an entire process of making business decisions that helps you come back down to this is what my son is seeing?
When I make business decisions, no, I kind of just I rely on the mental T chart, but then I also try to reach out to mentors and people that can help me that have been there and done that. And I try to lean on them and pick their brains and see, if they had successes and failures in these areas. Um, a lot of times, a lot of people feel they are alone and don't reach out to people, but people are willing to help if you're willing to ask. So I try to get better at that and pick up the phone or a text or email and I don't try to put too much weight on them, but I'll slide in a question here or there and ask.
That's a great point. So not being afraid to ask the question because you never know what the
Mm-hmm.
answer is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, and there's no harm in asking, right? Like there's no
That's
harm in
right.
being curious and asking.
That's right. The worst thing someone can say is no.
Yeah. So
So I
you
like
own a
that.
franchise, and I want to say one of the benefits to being a franchise. What do you think is the biggest benefit to being a franchise owner? Let me word it that way.
Oh, biggest benefit would be freedom of time, um, opportunity for money, and the biggest thing for me that pushed me over the edge and made me go through with it was I want to leave something for my son. If I can work hard and build my franchise up, I want to be the one to start generational wealth. Hopefully, he takes the reins and pushes it further than I ever could. But I want that. I want to be the one to start that. I look at a lot of not celebrities, but people that are rich, influential, and how they make their moves. And I want to do that. And I don't think I want to limit myself. I don't think I ever be Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos. But I mean, it would be great. But even just to make $1 million would still be successful. That's still more than enough than I've ever, thought of making in my life. So that would be a great start. I think that would be a great if I can build my brand to be $1 million worth $1 million and I can pass that to my son, successful.
There you go. So you can do that though without being a franchise owner. You can do it on your own. But I
Mm-hmm.
think you touched on it earlier about being this like, as a business owner, we sometimes kind of feel very alone and very
Mm-hmm.
isolated. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting you brought it up because I had a conversation earlier about we're not alone. We are, as business owners, even if you're in a similar industry or if you're in an entirely different industry, you're still not alone because there are other people who have done it before you. They maybe just did it differently. So I think personally the benefit of being a franchise owner versus doing it yourself is you have the succession plan of the guy who created the franchise
Mm-hmm.
on paper in front of you. But
Correct.
he's just told you what he did to be successful. If you follow the plan, you probably will be too. So there's at least that, like, here's the book of somebody who's done it before. If you can't find the answer in that book, how many other franchise owners are there throughout the whole country that you can call and be like in an entirely different state, way far away from where you are, so it doesn't conflict with your market space, right? And be
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I'm stuck at this one thing. Can you help me?
Correct. That is definitely something that tied into it. I could have went off on my own and did things. You know, I was in IT before this. I could have went off on my own and did things, and I fell back on that. Well, if I messed up, who do I call? So
Mm.
it came, down to if I can join a franchise, exactly as you said, I have help, someone that's successful. I'm not alone. There's over 300 other Schoolie Mitchell franchisees. So I can reach out to them with a question. I can reach out to head office with a question. And they're some of the friendliest people I've ever met. So they're Canadian and I love their accent. So it's great talking to them and they give me great advice.
I'm just gonna have to become Canadian, eh?
That's right, eh?
I love it too. I've got some friends in Canada and it's awesome.
I
Um,
love their accent.
I just love talking to anybody who's got an accent because I find it fascinating.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, it's funny because I'm from upstate New York originally, and so I moved down to North Carolina about 14 years ago. And people
Hmm.
here like talking to me because I have an accent, but when I go home, they like talking to me because I have an accent. So
Hmm.
apparently, I now have an accent regardless of where I go.
Yeah,
Who knew?
that's awesome. Some people hear an accent with me. I don't. I sound normal. To me, I don't hear an accent with you. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know how some people are really good at picking up on accents and others aren't. Uh,
Hmm.
I am not one of those people. Like, if you're in the United States, you all sound pretty much the same to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some places, South Carolina, Georgia, New Yorkers, or I guess the Northeast region, um, they have very strong accents. I've
Yeah,
never.
if you get into the Bronx, maybe, or into like
Yeah.
an area, yeah.
Yeah, you know that New York accent from a mile away.
So with Schoolie Mitchell, I love what you do with Schoolie Mitchell. You offer no obligation conversations
Hmm.
with small businesses, and you're doing a lot in the community already, but tell us a little bit about what these conversations kind of look like. What do they entail?
uh, if you don't mind, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, like, how you do the things that you do at Schoolie Mitchell.
Oh man. Well, the process is really quick and easy. We try to make it as painless as possible. We try to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Um, so the process starts with first us talking and understanding Schoolie Mitchell and what we do, and from there it moves on to the paperwork and fact finding phase. We gather all the documents we need. Um, from there, it goes into us negotiating with your vendors, with your current vendor, and from there we move to look at two other options, just in case our client wanted to switch vendors. And let's say they did want to switch vendors, then we try to make that as painless as possible by setting everything up so it's a seamless transition. Our goal is to minimize downtime because downtime is a loss of revenue. So if we can if you were to switch vendors, we hold no ties to any vendors. We are independent, so we give objective advice from that aspect. But if whatever our client wanted to stay with the same vendor or switch vendors, um, we just try to make that as easy as possible to help save them time and money.
That's beautiful. So you're really working to find alternative solutions for them so that they can be more efficient and more effective with their time, their budget, their resources.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, time is money. Time is money. So if you, as a business owner, if you have to spend time researching other companies, spend time trying to sit on a phone, sit on a hold, spend time arguing back and forth with your vendors. Let's just throw out AT&T for an example. That's time wasted from your business.
Here comes
That's
the
time
bus,
you.
AT&T. No, I'm kidding.
Nice, but that's time wasted that you could have put towards, maybe filing something, maybe cleaning up something. That's time you could have spent maybe talking to an employee.
I mean, but alternatively, it's really important to do that due diligence. We were talking in a conversation earlier with somebody else about the due diligence period. And if we don't do our due diligence, what that could cost us. And so it's really important to have that due diligence and look into our options so that we have negotiation leveraging power as business owners, right? Because if we don't do that, then we kind of are negotiating from a place of weakness. We end up negotiating because we need something, not because we need something and we know what's available.
That is correct. It's better to go in, and we don't try to say, hey, AT&T, by the way, we're looking at Sprint, but we'll go back and forth. We have relationships with some of the vendors, so when we give them a call, we try to use the same rep as much as possible, and do more business with them. Or hey, if our client has, using the same example, AT&T, and I have a rep in the area, and I've already called him multiple times, it's an easier process. It's faster than trying to reach out and establish a new relationship with a new client, new rep. Sorry.
You're good. Yeah, no, and that makes sense. So I think kind of what you're doing is you're saving your clients time by doing that due diligence factor for them, so that they can make informed decisions about what's going to make the most logical sense for their business.
Correct.
Awesome. And with your passion projects, helping the community, being involved in Kiwanis and wanting to leave that legacy, are you finding ways to help your clients and help your vendors leave legacies as well for their, whatever their purpose is or whatever their mission is?
Trying my best. That's a good question. That's a good question to ask some of my clients, what some of their goals are as far as like leaving a legacy behind. That's something I can follow up and ask. That's a good question.
It might be beneficial because I find that it does tend to help us build those deeper relationships. And you're very relationship oriented. I love your heart for the community, for your family, and your passion for helping others live simply.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I like to, I ask all my clients, what do you do for fun? If you go bowling, I definitely want to get out there and bowl with you. I want to beat you.
Oh, are you a bowling master?
I do everything. If it's competitive, I'm down for it. It doesn't matter. I'm not a bowling master. My wife is. She used to bowl competitively as when she was younger, and she always spanked me, and it used to really bother me a lot. So I went and got my own balls, got my own shoes. I practiced and practiced. I lost to her a ton until I finally beat her, and I talked so much trash.
And you never played again, so you can end up on top, right now.
That's right. I haven't played her since. It's been 2 years. Haven't played her since.
See, there you go. That's all it takes. You just win
I'm the
once
champ.
and then you're good to go.
That's right. I'm the champ.
That's right. You're the champ. So what other sports and games and things do you like to get into?
Oh, I love sports and games. Football, basketball. Well, I'm older now. Knees not the same, so football is probably out. But I'll get out and play quarterback. But I play basketball. I love cornhole. I'm into PlayStation, Xbox, console games. Um, anything that's active. Before the coronavirus hit, I discovered axe throwing. Um,
Uh-huh.
that is amazing. I love axe throwing.
That is a new thing here in North Carolina. Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
apparently the thing to partner up axe throwing with drinking. I'm not sure I'm really comfortable with a bunch of people who are drinking beer throwing axes.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. But when you're in that environment, I guess you just kind of partake. And I'll be honest, it's well, I was in the league. I joined the league. Those they're really
You
good.
joined an axe throwing league.
I did. I went to one practice. Well, not one practice. I went to one axe throwing with my wife, and one of the people that worked there, one of the ladies, she approached me. She said, "Oh, you're pretty good." And I was like, "Yeah, it's my first time." She's like, "Wow, you should probably join the league. We have a league for beginners and a league for veterans." And I joined the beginner league, and I lost. I probably split 50-50. I won just as much as I lost, but some of those people they're amazing to watch. It's amazing to see how accurate. Like, just I want to hit the bullseye, boom, hit the bullseye. I want to hit the top right of the board, I hit the top right of the board. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's like watching champion darts players play, and you're like, how do you hit the same spot every time? It's
Every
amazing.
time.
Amazing. So what I'm hearing, Dontavious, is you're a really fun guy to hang out with.
I try to be. I'm willing to do everything. It's we got one life to live. Why not live it to the max? I tell my wife, don't say no to everything, because you can miss out on opportunities. You never know who you'll come across if you go somewhere. So I try to get out whenever someone invites me to. Hey, let's go out drinking. Hey, let's go. Play darts. Let's go shoot some pool. That's whatever. I'm down. I don't care. I'm gonna try to beat you. I don't care how bad I am. I'm gonna try to beat you.
Well, it stinks that you're in Raleigh and I'm here in Winston, because you're like an hour and 45 minutes away. So not real convenient for getting together to go play the games, but maybe we can make something happen sometime, because that would be a lot of fun. But I think you said something really important. It's not about whether you win or lose. It's about playing the game and having fun.
No, it's definitely about winning and losing. No, it is about. No, it is about the camaraderie and the friendships and relationships. It is definitely all about that. But in the back of my mind, whether you know it or not, I'm competing to beat you. I may not say it, and I definitely try not to show it. But I want to win. Jordan was my favorite player growing up, my favorite sports athlete, and I try to look at things not so intensely as he did, but I try to take that, like, if you win at everything, you'll be successful in life. His goal was to win at all costs. I don't want to win at all costs, especially seeing the Last Dance documentary coming out, but I want to win far more than I want to lose.
And that's good enough. That's a driving passion. You've mentioned a couple of really amazing people that you pay attention to and that you follow. So you mentioned Michael Jordan, but you also mentioned Warren Buffett. And when we first got to know each other a little bit, you talked about a couple of Warren's moves and books and things that you follow. Are you an avid reader?
I am not. That's my I guess that's one of my toxic traits. I need to get better at reading. I throw on podcasts all the time, but definitely need to pick up a book and read more.
No, you don't. You just need to listen to the people who do. That's all.
True. Well, hey, people can say things and steer you wrong,
I
but
mean, there are successful people all over the world that have never read a
mhm,
single thing in their life. You know,
true, true.
are there successful people who read every day? Absolutely. And
Mhm,
are some of the successful people who read every day touting reading every day? Absolutely. But can you
mhm,
also be successful not reading, but you're still learning? You're finding alternative ways to learn? Yes.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I guess I want to be one of those people that like, uh, they're up 4, 5 in the morning, have the gym time for meditation, then they're cooking breakfast. Kind of like a schedule that they stick to, that they don't veer off as much.
Hmm.
Um, I want to be one of those people. It's very hard. It's very challenging, but that's my goal ultimately.
It is. It's hard to. I am not a morning person.
Mm,
My alarm goes off at 6:30, and I usually roll out of the bed around 7. But
mm,
I'm just not a morning person. And honestly, I hate the alarm. I really don't want to ever have to wake up to an alarm clock again. One of my
mm.
motivations is to make it so I never have to wake up to an alarm clock again.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't have the discipline,
Mm,
um, because I do. I think people who are able to get up at the ass crack of dawn
mm.
and get to it really have a lot more um, discipline than I certainly do. So
Yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
make that happen, my head is off to you.
Yeah. The trick is to just get up. Don't obviously turn off your alarm, but don't hit snooze. Once it goes off, just get up. Once you get up and maybe go use the bathroom, I have upstairs and downstairs, and I walk down to maybe get a drink of water. By the time I come back up, I'm wide awake. So I realize that's the trick. Especially my time. I try to lean on my time in the military. There was no snoozing. That they come in if you wake up at 3 o'clock, they come busting in your room. 3 o'clock. That's it. You're getting up. So I try to think of it in the same aspect. When your alarm goes off, if I want to get up, I just get straight up. If I hit snooze, I'm never getting up.
So I know I'm not alone in this camp. I know many of our listeners are probably in this camp too. Your alarm clock is your cell phone,
Hmm. Yep.
and you keep it right next to the bed.
Hmm.
Well, that's the problem. It's too easy to just reach over and whack the thing and go
That is
back to
correct.
sleep.
That is correct.
Yeah, I was
Put it
talking with
across
a
the
friend.
room.
Yeah, put it across the room. I was talking with a friend of mine who has grown kids, and she was telling me a story about her daughter last weekend. And she was like, I told them that you were going to pay me $5 per mile if I have to drive you to school because you
Mm,
missed your bus.
mm,
She never had them pay her ever to drive them
mhm,
to school. But her daughter, the first night that she told her kids this, her daughter puts her alarm clock. Now, this is in the days of alarm clocks, so I know all of you youngins listening to this don't know what the hell an alarm clock is. But she took her radio alarm clock and she stretched it as far as she could from the outlet into the middle of the room. And her mom came in that night to check on her to make sure she was going to be good to get up in the morning and not miss her bus. And she sees
mhm.
the alarm clock stretch and she's like, she's going to be up. No worries. I'm
That's
not
right.
charging her $5 a mile because she's gonna be up. And the
Yeah,
son
that's
didn't do
right.
that. And she went to her son and she was like, I will try on twice to knock on your door to make sure that you're awake. And the second time, if you are not up, you will be paying me $5 per mile to take you to school.
Mm.
And sure enough, the next morning she had to go knock on his door a couple of times, right? So she knocks on his door, and the second time she's like, so you're gonna pay me $5 a mile, huh?
I like that. I'm gonna keep that in mind for my son when it comes time.
He got his butt up. She's like, Terry, I kid you not, the whole time he's getting ready for school. Mind you, he didn't pay me the money. The whole
Mm.
time he's getting ready for school, he's grumbling $5 a mile. $5 a mile. She's like, the whole hour it took him to get ready for school, he's bitching about the $5 per mile. He still made it to the bus, so he never had to pay it.
That's funny. I'm gonna use that. I'm
The
gonna use
key
that.
is get up and get busy, right? Have
Yeah,
a
just get up
routine.
and get out of bed. I'll say that again.
have a routine?
Yeah, it's great to have a routine, man. I love when I have a routine. It's less chaotic. I don't feel as stressed. So
What's your success routine?
oh man, I try to make sure I take care of my son in the morning, and then get to my computer. Well, sorry, let me backtrack. It starts, in my opinion, the night before. I put out a call list of who I need to call. Um, the next day, I try to, if I want to make 10 calls, I try to make a call list of 10 calls. If it's 15, whatever. I print out a call list. The next morning, I get up, I take care of my son, get him situated. From there, I go and you know, if all my meetings are scheduled, I bang out, my meetings, my calls, and go from there. Yeah, I just try to make sure I structure my day the night before. Because if I wait the day of, I'm everywhere. I can't focus on one thing because I'm worried about every other thing, and I'm trying to remember and make sure I didn't forget anything. So I think my success routine is the night before. Make sure everything is taken care of before I go to bed.
That is a great tip. And that is definitely one that I think business owners everywhere can follow. We oftentimes make our to-do lists, and they're sometimes longer than our arm. And I don't know about you, but mine grows every day. It doesn't shrink, it grows.
Yeah.
My arm doesn't, the list does. My arm's
yeah.
So we run into the overwhelm very quickly. So how do you deal with overwhelm?
I back away. Simple as that. If I get overwhelmed, I try not to let it bother me. I take a step away. I go sit down, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes, just quiet time. When I worked for another business, if I had to go to the bathroom, I'd go to the bathroom. If I had to go outside, whatever it is, I just step away. I put it down. You can't think clearly when you're stressed. And oftentimes, like, I don't know if you ever, like, look for something, and because you're running short on time, you're getting stressed. And when you calm down, you step back, you see it in a spot that you checked 3 or 4 times, but you always glanced over it because you were so stressed, you overlooked it. So that's I think that's my key. I step away, I put it down, take some deep breaths, like a meditation type breathing, slow deep inhales and exhales, and I go back to it and bang out whatever I need to bang out.
So what you need is always right in front of you, and when you're stressed out, you don't see it. Me and my husband call that our blind spot. It's right in front of our face.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I'm stressed and I'm rushing. And I'm like, where's my keys? I'm searching everywhere for my keys, and my keys are on my hand. I don't realize it. I'm thinking of everything else, and when I stop, I'm like, dude, the keys in my hand the whole time. 5 minutes. I just wasted 5 minutes. So sometimes you gotta stop and relax, gather yourself.
Yeah. Just collect yourself.
Yeah.
Removing
that's right.
That's a great tip. Dontavious, you have been so much fun to talk to. I've really enjoyed this conversation. So the last thing I want to ask you, because I want to be aware of your time and our listeners, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they want you to come in and help them do the due diligence for their business?
Well, first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me on this. I had a great time as well. For those who can't tell, I'm super nervous, if you can't tell. But great way to reach me. You can email me, dontavious.thomas@schooleymitchell.com. Or you can reach me by phone, 704-743-7877. Phone and email, that's the best way.
Okay, great. Well, I so appreciate you being here. I know our listeners have too. This has just been a fun conversation. We talked about a lot of things, but they all tie together in terms of keeping that peaceful mind, remembering to be grateful for the things that you have, and find your happiness even in the challenges, because the happiness still lives there even in challenge.
That's right. Everything is a learning. Everything is a learning lesson. You can learn a lot from the good and the bad. You learn more from the bad, but yeah.
That's very true. We do. We do learn more from the bad. Well, thank you so much, Dontavious. And I'm going to stick with your Three Musketeer, Dontavious, the Musketeer. You want
I
Dontavious
appreciate
in your corner.
it. You do. You do. I'm your watchdog. I fight for you.
That's right. Cool. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it. Take care.